Hello everyone. So I recently came across a video that was, I think it was posted not too long ago by a YouTube user by the name of Jacklyn Glenn. And if you want to know my opinion on her, like, do I agree with her on everything? No, I don't. But, I mean, first of all, she's an atheist, I'm a Christian. But then again, I do have more respect for her than I might have for people who are actually more on my side or agree with me more on stuff. And I'll get to that a little bit later on. So I'm kind of giving a response to the video she put out about, it's kind of titled "I'm a Slut," and I'm going to provide the link in the description, and I would recommend you watch the video before you watch this. So, unlike my last video, this is not a negative response, it's just some stuff I wanted to add to it, or just some stuff that came to mind as I was watching the video, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So, the video mainly talks about her being, bashed, or just being, called a slut all the time by just all these random bloggers, commenters online, and some of it is just, people just trying to find a quick name calling people who just do not like her, stuff like that. But a lot of it also has to do with if she posts a picture online that's maybe has a revealing outfit, or maybe she's dressed a little provocatively, she'll be labeled a slut for that. And I think a lot of that, from my point of view, a lot of that has to do, and she does bring up that it's most of the crap she gets about, slut shaming comes from other females. I think a lot of it has to do with just females calling other females sluts is because the ones who are doing the name calling are basically just jealous and insecure. And they basically use that as a way to make themselves look better. And also I do think, another thing I want to get to is, she also brings up how a man could screw around with several women and, won't get a lot of name calling. Maybe if he gets bashed, it's just by all these, feminist groups saying, oh, he's such a pig, he's a partying frat boy, stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not like they don't get slut shamed. If anything, they're basically just called a stud. But yet, if a woman has sex with like two guys, or if in any way she just basically openly admits she actually kinda likes sex, as Jacklyn mentioned in the video, they're framed as a slut. And a lot of that has to do with society has forced the idea on us, and the current gender roles, that men are just these crazy sex addicts that just can't get enough, and women are just these innocent, squeaky clean creatures that don't want sex, but maybe they'll do it for the purpose of reproduction, or maybe their boyfriend just bought them off with a free dinner, free drinks, expensive jewelry, I don't know. That's what society has put on us. That's the idea society's forced on us. And so what Jacklyn Glenn's talking about in the video, as far as her being slut-shamed for openly admitting she doesn't have a problem with sex, or she might actually enjoy it, she's going to get slut-shamed because she does not fall into the role society has placed on females as of the present day. And it's also the same with men who maybe don't want sex. So, and I know this by personal experience, because up to today I have managed to stay a virgin, and it's not because, probably some of you, especially maybe the alpha males, will be like, oh, well, it's just because you can't get sex. No, I mean, if I wanted it bad enough, I could get it. If I wanted a girlfriend bad enough, I could get one. And if you don't know this, I am a part of MGTOW, which is a group of men going their own way. If you don't know much about it, and you maybe want to get into it, I highly recommend you to check out a YouTube channel under the name Neo Unplugged. He's got dynamite material in his videos, posts more and more about MGTOW all the time, and if you can, please subscribe to him. He needs all the support he can get. But MGTOW is basically a group of men opting out of society, walking away from marriage. And so try being a MGTOW man, a man that doesn't try to just have sex with women, a man that doesn't want to get married. And just as a female who openly admits to liking sex gets bashed by other females, a man who openly admits he doesn't want sex gets bashed by other males. Just because, like, as far as the males go, I do not fit into the society North America has placed on the male. So, other than that, another point I wanted to get to is, just while we're on the topic of slut shaming and stuff like that, she later goes on into, some women trying to support her, saying, well, it's okay if you want to have your views on sex, but personally, I would never, have sex or anything like that. Once again, that all goes into this idea of what society has forced on gender roles as of today, because, they force the idea on women that they should be squeaky clean, innocent creatures that, should have, no sex in their lives, because sex is considered as dirty and all that kind of stuff. And so, while they yet maybe don't have a problem with her, they still want to keep the squeaky clean image of themselves. And, I'm not sure if a lot of women just pretend that's the way they are, maybe just because that's the way society's has been to them. Maybe a lot of guys feel the same way I do. They just, try to stay with the traditional male roles just because that's what society's forced on us. So, society doesn't necessarily have to make sense, but, a lot of us feel pressured to go along with society just because we're all part of it, and we want to be people pleasers. We want to fit in with it. So now that that's out of the way, another point I wanted to make, just as far as another major point, she did later bring up feminism in her videos, and I gotta say, one reason I can respect Jacklyn Glenn is because, yes, she does make videos about women's rights, not necessarily is she a men's rights activist, or I wouldn't say she's an anti-feminist either, and like a lot of MGTOW members are not anti-feminists, just men going their own way. But she does bring up that if she bashes any kind of supposed women's rights issue, such as some ridiculous thing about tampons that the extreme feminists are jumping on, if she bashes an issue like that, which she should, because most the ideas that the extreme feminists have as of today, which in my opinion, most of the modern day feminists are extremists, in my opinion, just from what I've seen. She jumps on a lot of their issues that are they're just stupid and they're meaningless. And, she jumps on those, she gets bashed as an anti-feminist. But, yet she wants to bring up an issue such as, women being pro-choice. Or just having the right to have an abortion or not, just basically them to have the right to choose. And then maybe contraception. Those two, as a libertarian, I kind of, maybe those are considered women's rights, maybe they're not. But for me, whether they are or not, those two issues I don't necessarily have a problem with. And that has to do with being a libertarian and the fact that, I believe, as a libertarian, people should have free will, and not to mention, as a Christian, I do believe God gave us all free will. But another reason I can also respect her on that is, first of all, she did make a video before this. I think it was titled "Why Men Love Bitches," and that was a pretty good video, and I'll try to link that in the description below. But in a part of that, she did bring up the wage gap, how it's just a myth, it's not true about, this whole equal pay for equal work thing, because anyone who has actually done the research on the wage gap will know that once you factor in a man and women working with the same job, same position, same experience, same education, the salaries are roughly the same. That whole like 70 cents for every dollar men make just has to do with career options and maybe the amount of work hours you're doing. It has nothing to do with like gender discrimination and stuff like that. And Jacklyn Glenn, being a woman, actually gets it, as far as I know, but actually knows it's a myth. And any woman, whether she supports any kind of women's rights or not, like, immediately, I'm not just gonna say, okay, I can't support her because, she believes in some kinds of women's rights. Look, as I brought up, being pro-choice and contraception, I don't really have a problem with those. But just because of the fact that I don't have a problem with those does not make me any kind of a feminist. And then again, it does not mean I'm not an anti-feminist either. And if I am an anti-feminist in any way, it means I do not support modern-day feminism, and I don't support the extremists. And, if I might be a men's rights activist or a member of MGTOW, a lot of it has to do with, feminism has changed, and it's basically become a lot of nonsense, and it's basically become a joke as of today, in my opinion. And kind of like, immediately, if, women want to bring up women's rights today, the first thing they'll bring up is the wage gap, which as I brought up earlier, is a myth, and maybe just other issues that are just, meaningless. And with Jacklyn Glenn, I don't agree with her on everything, but I've seen enough of her videos to realize that she is not closed-minded. Doesn't have these prejudices. Maybe she has like a firm stance on her opinions and stuff like that, but it's not just because, there was some agenda that's forced on her. It seems like she's actually done the research, that she's, actually looked for reasons, and seems pretty much an open-minded person, pretty much open to debate things. And, for me, I don't really see any reason to bash a person for doing that. Now, yes, I'm not an atheist like she is, but like I said, I personally believe that there are atheists out there who just call themselves atheists because they do not want a God in their life. Now, probably deep down inside, a lot of them actually do know that there is a God. Now, as for Jacklyn Glenn, maybe the amazing atheist as well, and I'm not sure about Mr. Repzion, but they seem to be in this kind of group, or a lot of the people who watch one of the users' videos tend to watch videos from the other two. But it seems to me as though, just as far as Jacklyn Glenn and the amazing atheist, it seems to me personally that they actually do not believe that there is a God. And not necessarily am I going to take their stances on their beliefs, but, I'm not really going to disrespect them. And a lot of it has to do with, I've seen the research they've done on feminism, and I realize that I wouldn't call either of them feminists. I would just call themselves equalitarians. I'm an equalitarian myself. I am a true equalitarian. And by equalitarian means I don't support modern day feminism. And it seems to me, from what I've seen, Jacklyn Glenn and the amazing atheist, that they are not in any way feminists, that they are equalitarians, and just because someone happens to bring up any women's rights issues, I'm not just going to start bashing them because, oh, women's rights, that's a feminist. No, I'm going to look at the issue that they're pointing out, and if it's an issue I'm like, okay, maybe that is an issue that's rather important, like maybe pro-choice contraception. Like I said, I have no problem with those being discussed. But if you want to debate the wage gap or the gender gap in the United States Congress, or how the majority of movie directors are men, or just any crap like that, and plus just stupid, meaningless feminist issues, and like I said, Jacklyn Glenn seems for the most part to be against those, so in no way do I disrespect her. Really, or at least for the most part I don't. So that's just a little response I wanted to add to this video. And also add some of my points, some of my experiences that kind of, came to mind as I was watching the video. So, definitely, yeah, check out both the videos of hers I brought up in the video. Also, I'm going to link a video the Amazing Atheist did about, like, talking about the oppression of women, how supposedly women are oppressed by, this giant patriarchy that, the men have established just to beat down and oppress women. So that's a very good video, actually. I know it maybe doesn't have a lot to do with what I'm talking about, but definitely you should check it out. And also check out Neo Unplugged's channel. He's got dynamite videos, and make sure to subscribe to Neo Unplugged. So until then, I'll see you next time. And yeah,